I know what you're thinking. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing anything. Yes, you are. People do this because it's completely natural. It's actually encouraged from a very young age. What I'm talking about is your perception of yourself, or the story that you tell yourself about yourself. I'm not talking about a literal story that you're telling yourself, like out of a book or something. I'm talking about what you think of as your personal identity. Just how you think of yourself in general, your perspective of yourself, what kind of a person you think you are, or what things you think you're good at. One way to think of this would be, what are you talented at? Talent is a separate topic for another time. A lot of your perspective of yourself is actually ingrained from the time you're a small child. It could be the toys that you're given as a child. It could be how other people treat you. So a lot of it is absorbed just as we're growing up naturally. Some of it can be our own observations about what we think we're good at. Maybe we try something and maybe we get commented on by somebody else. Hey, you're great at this activity. Hey, you're really good at that. You know, something like that. It makes you feel really good. Over time, we might just develop this sense ourselves through hobbies or activities that we enjoy. There can be a lot of benefits in this. If you're able to cultivate an identity or a perspective of yourself that's productive or influential on your activities, doing something positive, that can be really great. It could be inspiration that eventually turns into a career path, for example. Or it could just be really enjoying certain hobbies. This perspective of ourselves helps give us context, and it helps us understand ourselves throughout our lives. This could even give us a sense of direction or even life purpose. And indeed, if you want to be the absolute best at something, say professional sports or just any career field, then you probably do need some sense of that as being a core of your personality, just to have the drive to continue doing that activity. Maybe. While this can come from a good place of wanting to cultivate certain skills or interests, it can actually be a risk to our happiness long term. The most extreme or the most dangerous perspective like this would be people who dedicate their entire lives or their entire sense of identity or self around a single activity. I was once told by a weightlifter that if he ever got an injury that prevented him from going to the gym, his life would be over. That was it. That was all he had. That was his core identity as a person, was being the weightlifting guy. If he lost that, he would lose his sense of himself. Don't be that guy. There's much more to you than any single skill or activity that you do. If you think about it in terms of an investment in your life, putting all of your eggs into one basket would be a very risky thing to do. What if that thing doesn't work out? What if I end up not being good at this thing? What if somebody else comes along who's better at it than I am? That's a lot of risk. Another problem with this is that some of these things are just out of our control. Even career growth. Sometimes your growth in your career is not directly tied to your own performance. You can be great at something and still not get a promotion, still not go in the direction that you want to go in. The biggest problem with all of this is just the limitation that it imposes on our lives. So if you think, I'm great at this activity, but I'm not good at this other thing, you're probably not going to really try that other thing too much. So one example would be to say, I'm just not good at art. I can't do art. An artistic thing comes up, I can't do it, I'm not an artist. It makes sense why people would think of things in this way. It's sort of a self-defense mechanism. It's easier to avoid risking failure by just saying, I can't do that thing. That's not for me, that's for other people. With that mindset, it's very easy to avoid any sort of risk-taking activity and just stay on the track that you're comfortable with. So the biggest life mistake is creating and cultivating a self-perception that limits what we can do in life. You might still be thinking that this doesn't apply to you, that you have a realistic sense of yourself. And maybe you do, but still, almost everyone has some sense of what they're good and what they're bad at. And that could be the case. You might still just be good at certain activities and maybe not quite as good at others. But don't let that exclude those activities entirely from your life if there's something that you want to try out. I've thought this myself in my own life about music. So I've always thought I'm not a musical person. I can't do music. I don't understand music. It's all kind of just for other people. I've even been thankful for this before. I was told, maybe music isn't for you. And I thought to myself, thank you for steering me away from the wrong path. Recently, I've changed that and I've gotten really interested in music and I'm really enjoying what I'm doing with it. Now, I'm not intending to be a professional musician or anything, but I'm glad that I at least gave up the thought that I couldn't do it or that I shouldn't even bother trying, even as a hobby. There's an easy solution to this, and that's just reframing. So instead of saying to yourself, I can do this, I can't do that, instead adopt the perspective, I can do anything. All it takes is a little bit of effort and learning the task, whatever that may be. Open your mind to the possibility that you can do whatever you want, and you're going to have so many more opportunities. Most people think about avoiding the risk of failure more than they think about avoiding the risk of missing out on tons of opportunities by having the wrong mindset, just because of the perspective they have of themselves. You might be limiting your enjoyment of life by avoiding all the activities that you think are out of character for you. Once you understand how your mind is operating, you can use that knowledge to your advantage and reshape your image of yourself. I mean, just look at this YouTube channel. I'm a huge introvert. This seems totally out of character for me. I don't want to be on TV. I don't want to be online. YouTube isn't for me. YouTube is for people doing dumb stuff in their backyard. I'm a very introverted, private person, but I decided to give this a try because I saw it as an opportunity for growth. I heard a quote recently that if you want to change something in your life, you have to give something up. And a lot of people might hear that and think of it as, oh, you need to give up the comfort of leisure time, hobbies, maybe money that you need to invest into it. I think the biggest comfort actually that you need to give up is your comfortable sense of self, or your personal identity that you've created for yourself. Once you abandon your established sense of what you're good at and what you can and can't or should or shouldn't be doing, you open up unlimited possibilities for growth. Adopt the perspective that you can always change and your life will be awesome. If you have any limiting self-perception, drop that today and try something new that you've wanted to do. I'm talking right now. No, I mean like right now. Go out and do it.